patterns use artwork that you've created in Illustrator in a repetitive manner, and they can be applied to either a stroke or fill of a selected object. Illustrator Cs introduces a brand new pattern making facility. Now, each new Illustrator document that you create contains a few default pattern swatches in the swatches panel, as well as provides some access to a number of predefined patterns in the libraries here that you can use. We'll stick with some of the defaults for now, and we'll apply a pattern to a fill. We've got one here. There is another one right here. Now, once you've applied a pattern to an object, you can change its size, angle, position, and so on by using transformation tools. In this case, I would like to scale this pattern down. So with the object selected, I jump to the Object Transform panel and select Scale. Now, if I were to just reduce the scale percentage to 70% and preview that, I am not only scaling the pattern, I'm also scaling the object itself. So instead of transforming the object, if you only want to change the appearance and only want to transform the pattern within the object, deselect the Transform Objects option. And in this case, if I increase or decrease this value by pressing arrow up or arrow down, you can see this in a more dynamic way, and it will only affect the pattern itself. I'll click OK. Now, you could use the move transformation to change the position of your pattern within the object if you're not happy with how it's positioned. But there's a handy little shortcut that you can use to do this manually instead. If you press the tilde key on the keyboard and then click and drag inside the patterned area, you can drag the pattern tiles up or down and control the positioning of the pattern within that particular object. Let's now look at creating a brand new pattern. First of all, we have to have some artwork created, and we select that first. This is going to become our brand new pattern, a little orange slice. To turn this into a pattern, we select Pattern from the Object menu and choose Make. Now this will automatically add a pattern tile into the Swatches panel, plus enter the pattern editing mode, so we can make additional changes to this pattern. We get this little dialog box that informs us that indeed a swatch has been added to the Swatches panel, and we'll just click OK on it. If you don't want to see that again, select the Don't Show Again option. And we now get to have a look at the Pattern Options panel. Patterns are Illustrator artwork that are placed in a tile, and this tile is repeated in a certain way. We'll first of all name this pattern. I'll call it Citrus, and you'll see that the default behavior is a grid-like way of tiling, and the pattern tile is a rectangle that's formed around the artwork. We have some additional tile types available where the pattern tiles are not offset in a grid-like pattern, but either by row or by column. These still use rectangular patterns, but you can also change the shape of the pattern tile to a hexagon, and there's two additional options available: hex by column and hex by row. I'm going to stick to the hex by row setting. Now, if you know in advance that your pattern tile itself needs to have a fixed width and height, then you can enter those settings in the width and height boxes in the pattern options. Currently, if I change the width to say 2 inches, the height will change accordingly based on the fact that the proportions between the width and height are maintained. If I deselect that, I could increase the height of that pattern tile independently from the width. When selecting the size tile to art option, the pattern tile will once again shape itself to the size of the artwork, and we can now use the horizontal and vertical spacing setting to increase the space between the individual pattern tiles. So if I start to increase that a bit, we'll see once again we increase the space and we change the behavior of our pattern tile. Now the resulting effect can be very similar to what we did when we changed the width and height of the pattern tile. The only difference is in one case you're merely defining the space between the individual pattern tiles. In the prior case, when we're looking at width and height, we are defining the overall width and height of the pattern tile itself. So I'm now going to click on Done to jump out of this pattern editing mode, and we can apply that pattern that we've just added to our swatches panel to the artwork we've got right here. And once again, we can use some of the transform tools and features to change the size and the position of this pattern and so on. Let's deselect this object by clicking anywhere on an empty space in your artboard. Now if you want to re-edit the pattern editing mode, all you've got to do is double click the pattern swatch in the swatches panel. This will relaunch the pattern options, and we can now make some additional changes to this. The first thing that I want to do is add another object inside our pattern by copying this bit of artwork. I'm pressing the Alt or Option key on the keyboard, and I'll add the middle as well. I had intended of selecting both of them. And we'll change the color of that to lime, reduce the size of that a bit so that we have an orange and a lime slice. Now you might notice that as I'm moving that lime slice around, the tile automatically adjusts in size. That is because we've currently got this size tile to art option selected, and we are spacing the tiles out a little bit by adding some space between the tiles by entering the horizontal and vertical spacing. You can also manually adjust the tile, and that might work much better for you. To do that, click the pattern tile tool, and the tile that you've got will appear with a bunch of handles around it. You can drag these in and out, so you can literally change the width and height of your tile, or in this case what you're doing is reducing the horizontal and vertical spacing. And you'll now see that as I've got the tile set to a size that is smaller than the artwork itself, we are generating an overlapping tile pattern. Now you can control with the overlap settings how a tile is being overlapped, whether the left to right overlapping appears with the left side in front or the right side in front. You should see a small change here on the orange slice. I'll leave it on left to right, or whether the tile is overlapped from the top to the bottom or from the bottom to the top, and you can see that changes things a little bit. I'm just going to adjust this tile a little bit more. I'm not quite happy with it. Don't want to have them too far spaced out. Maybe a little bit more space here. And I am happy with this now and can click on Done. Now if you wanted to save a copy of this particular pattern into your swatches panel, you could click the Save a Copy button, and that will automatically add a duplicate of the pattern that you're working on currently into your swatches panel, so you could later open that, edit it and change the colors and so on. I'm done. Let's click done. And the last thing that I'm going to do is just reposition the pattern within this object by once again holding down the tilde key and just dragging that out a bit. And I might even make it a little bit bigger by applying another skill, transform. In this case, I'm going to increase the size. We'll make it a bit bigger, say 120%. To increase this dynamically, I'm actually holding down the shift key on the keyboard and pressing the arrow keys, the up and down arrow keys on the keyboard. Click OK, and I'll just do one more tilde drag until I'm absolutely happy with the result. And there we have a brand new t-shirt design with a pattern tile in it. It's a great tool. It's a great technique to start creating overlapping and continuous patterns. Have fun with it.